5 things I love and hate about Genshin Impact. For those who don't know, Genshin Impact is a free-to-play, open-world, exploration, Wikipedia article casino made by miHoYo. miHoYo is a Chinese company that has made their name on gachas for mobile, Genshin being their take on an open-world action game. The style is a bit like Breath of the Wild by waifus, but the comparisons to Zelda stop there. If anything, it feels more like a Ubisoft game with markers and waypoints scattered everywhere, like toddlers in a McDonald's ball pit. Maybe less soulless than a Ubisoft game, but just as evil. There's currently 5 main areas in the world of Tibet. The starting area Mondstadt, the Earth Kingdom, Liyue, Japan/Inazuma, a desert and jungle that is a pain in the ass to traverse, Sumeru, and most recently the French steampunk Fontaine. I'm ignoring some other sub-areas because, this is where you're going to be spending most of your time anyways. You're the Traveler, a female or male-looking creature haunted by a tiny flying goblin named Paimon. I'm not going to get too much into the story since it's been 4 years since the game came out and we still really don't know what the Traveler is, why they're even here, and, what they're trying to accomplish besides decimating the Hilichurl population and finding their gay sibling. Combat, there's 7 elements: Hydro, Dendro, Cryo, Electro, Geo, Animo, and Pyro. So water, life, ice, electricity, earth, wind, and fire. Do you remember? Alright, that's enough. Each element has a cool reaction like cover an enemy in Hydro, you can freeze them, and then blast them with fire. That causes them to vaporize. Or just play Dendro Hydro and shoot funny plants everywhere and get a million DPS. Listen, I don't know how to optimally play this game, so, go somewhere else if you care about min-maxing or good gameplay. Okay, with that primer out of the way, let's get to the good stuff first. 5 things that I like about Genshin. An honorable mention is that the music is extremely good. Here's a taste. And that's it. Okay. Number 5, exploration. Overall, the game is beautifully realized and fun to explore. There's chests and enemies crammed into every nook and cranny imaginable. There's secrets and puzzles, quests. We'll get to those. But the thing that really struck me when I first started playing was how fun it was to just walk from one side of the planet to the other, finding all this cool shit along the way. Very few games seem to capture that raw exploration and discovery in the first dozen or so hours. So, good job. Number 4, story. The story's pretty good.
According to the judgment of the Oratrice Mécanique d'Analyse Cardinale.
The main character quests can range from great to, okay. But the Archon quests, the meat of each new area or update, are usually well written and fun to go through. When other aspects of the game start to bore me or burn me out, I usually come back just to see where the story is going. Or what's the story behind the sad, adorable little water princess. That's all I'm really going to say about that because there's a lot I dislike about the presentation of these quests, but overall they're a big sticking point of the game, and a lot of people really like the story and the writing. Number 3, characters. Story and characters kind of go hand in hand, but if you ignore the story entirely, the characters are just so cool by themselves, you want them regardless of, whatever war crimes they've committed. That's mostly because the character design is just so damn good. The personality and flair of each member of Genshin's huge roster oozes through their looks and gameplay. Take Wriothesley, for instance. Can you tell he's probably a cool Iceman prison warden who beats the shit out of everyone with power fists?
A word of advice, don't break the law.
How about the cute and cuddly Kirara, who's innocent, delivers packages like a juiced-up cat Amazon delivery service. The list goes on. Design-wise, everyone follows very simple body types. For the guys, there's twink and manly twink. For the ladies, there's hottie, mommy, and child. But even with the limited model types, the designers just hit it out of the park with everything else, from their kits to clothing to animation to voice work. For God's sakes, Wriothesley's Japanese VA is Jotaro. Every now and then, they miss on someone, or their kid is too weak, or it's just not meta, or they just feel dull to play. But because it's gacha, the devs are incentivized to make the most enticing characters possible, so you spend your hard-earned primo gems on them. And they nail most of them. Many of the characters have really cool kits. From traversal to crazy damage to big heals, most 5 stars are completely game-changing. And even if you don't initially like the characters, once you get them leveled and geared up, you could turn a frustrating battle into a cakewalk. So even if no one interests you right now, there are going to be new, cool, funny little guys to roll on in the future. And that's a major reason to stick around and keep playing Genshin, because even if the current content bores you, there's probably something really cool around the corner. Number 2, combat. Combat is very fun. I don't really have too much to add. The elemental reactions are excellent. There's a good amount of punch you get from your character's skills and attacks. You get to see big funny numbers. When all else fails for me in Genshin Impact, I always just dome a motherfucker and I feel happy. And the number one thing I love about Genshin Impact, it's free. Yes, this is all free. You can play the entirety of Genshin Impact completely free. You can explore the world, do the main quests, level characters, and pull new ones completely free. Now, this comes with about 1,000,000 asterisks. There's some paid things like Welkins, a monthly subscription that drip feeds you precious primo gems, the game's primary currency. You'll also have to do a ton of grinding to actually get the most out of the shiny new characters the gods graced you with. When you buy primos or pull on new powerful characters, it just flat out makes the game easier. So in a lot of ways, you're at a pretty large disadvantage if you don't spend any money. But that doesn't mean you have to. At the end of the day, you can still download Genshin Impact and start playing and get hundreds of hours of content completely for free, which is kind of insane. Okay, now we're gonna get into the tough stuff. 5 things I hate about Genshin Impact. But first, honorable mention. MiHoYo is a Chinese company, which means the CCP gets the final say on things like story, writing, names, and most importantly, designs. There have been many censored redesigns of characters with outfits that show less skin. They fade the models so you can't look up the skirts of women or the boxer briefs of the men. There's a painful lack of any sort of character body types outside of the aforementioned twinks and stick-thin waifus. Bizarre and distracting underwater sensor blur on crotches. This game is clearly made to entice otakus, whom the CCP and many other international governments hate with a passion. So that means the game is constantly at odds with its masters. You'll never reach true degeneracy, just casual degeneracy. This isn't a problem for everyone, but I'd certainly notice it. And obviously some things like reducing nudity to keep your rating down so kids can play Genshin and run up mommy's credit card makes sense. But it's like a brain parasite. Like, I can't help but look at every new character design trying to look for the weird clothing that covers up a girl's shoulders. Because if one pixel gives off the mild inkling of sexuality, the CCP is 5 minutes away from cooking their servers and seizing their bank accounts. Which also means blowing up my fucking account. Okay, enough about that. The number 5 thing I hate about Genshin Impact, everything is time-gated. This isn't a new concept to people who play gachas or free games. Some things like farming or quests or character energy, basic mechanics that make a game have a time gate. Sometimes it's energy on refillable consumables. Basically, you cannot pass go until you either pay currency / IRL currency or wait. Everything in Genshin, from quests to boss farming to endgame to leveling, it's all time-gated. You get about 8-ish tries at an artifact dungeon or a few boss battles every day, and that's it. You just pulled a new character and need one of 30 different materials to level them? Too bad. You could really use this one material for a weapon? Oh, sorry, you can only get that on Tuesdays. Want to see the conclusion of this mega quest? Better wait 48 hours. We don't want you to have too much fun. Again, this isn't a particularly new concept to free games or gachas, but that doesn't excuse how annoying and insidious it is. When you play these games, you have to check some of your desires at the door, especially when it's a free-to-play. But that doesn't make me any less pissy about it. On number 4, Genshin works on phones. Wow, that's crazy. You can play this beautiful world on a phone? Why is that a bad thing? Well, it's not at first. It's actually a technical marvel. It doesn't run on older phones, it eats up all your storage and data, but it's still pretty cool. It's bad because phone gamers are a massive portion of the Genshin player base. I mean, fuck, they made $5 billion off of them. So for PC players, you're shackled to what a phone or a PS4 can do. So no cool weather effects or lighting that really take advantage of your hardware. Sometimes PC mouse controls can feel sluggish as opposed to the controller. You can't target lock, which means you hit your burst and just pray to God that it correctly picked the right enemy for you. Which is less annoying with AoE bursts, but incredibly annoying with single target. They could do a lot of cool stuff with this game, but they have to keep their multi-billion-dollar phone fanbase happy, so the game never exceeds the limitation of a smartphone. So for as much of a technical marvel that this game actually is, it has an incredibly hard ceiling for what it can do. Number 3, they're stingy with their currency. Genshin makes a fuck ton of money. Let me say that again for emphasis. Genshin Impact makes an ungodly amount of money. For any of the issues the game has, it attracts loads of whales and weebs with deep pockets or mental illness who regularly blow hundreds of millions of dollars every month on this Chinese cartoon phone game. So you better bet your ass the devs will go out of their way to reward you with as little currency as possible.
Two pills? Great. Why don't you just give me a bottle of scotch and a handgun to blow my fucking head off?
Because A, they have no competition, and B, the more free currency they give out, the less opportunity you have to break your wallet out and spend money. And again, if you can just earn a decent amount of currency by playing the game, then why would you ever need to take your wallet out? Whereas some gachas will basically give you loads of freebies, especially if you're new or they're just starting out, kind of like their sister game, Honkai Star Rail, which this game gets compared to regularly as far as quality of life and how they treat their player base. Basically, Genshin has no motivation or incentive to give you any major rewards for the amount of time and work that you put into the game. But it's strange because when I first started playing, this really wasn't the case, and this is where their system for hooking in new players is just done so perfectly. So you get into a situation as a new player where you're doing a ton of quests, maybe you have Welkins too, and you're loaded with primos after a week of playing. You pull a few times, you get a 4-star or 2, then you start wanting more. So you see a cool 5-star, you buy some currency, and after a few pulls on the handle, you get the 5-star. Hell yeah! Now your team is way better, you're crushing it. But you want another 5-star to really build out your squad. You're also looking at constellations, which are when you pull the same character again, you get a little boost or a talent increase for their abilities. So you save and do more quests, and after weeks of saving, you get a few more pulls. No 5-star. And some shit 4-stars too. You keep saving and pulling, now it's literally months of no 5-star. Then reality sets in. This is the game. You have to log in every day, do commissions, or suffer through 2 to 3 hour long quests to get a pathetic handful of primos. Then you get the honor of blowing that hard-earned currency to miss out on the character you want because you got screwed by the drop rates, or God, or I don't know. Events can reward you with a few hundred primos if you're lucky, but it's pennies compared to the astronomically large number of primo gems you'll need to secure the characters you want, or even get a constellation which drastically improves a 5-star. You're theoretically looking at pulling for a character hundreds of times with a slightly increased drop rate, with an incredibly finite currency, and the odds are never in your favor. This is the equivalent of working in a salt mine for years with the express goal of trying to save up for a Lamborghini. So the name of the game is either save for months or break out the credit card. And honestly, this entire topic is a bit of a hot issue with gachas in general. The games themselves are designed to make you spend money, but their free-to-play nature gives players the mindset that if they just play enough, they don't have to. So, for example, Honkai Star Rail, the sister game to Genshin, throws you a ton of login rewards, and they even got a free 5-star, which definitely pissed off everybody. Login rewards are few and far between unless, again, you're paying for the Welkin or the daily login primos, and you're lucky if they hand out a shitty 4-star character once in a while. It gets to a point where I've personally quit multiple times due to how difficult it is to farm primos. Genshin goes from soaring around to being trapped in a daily death spiral, forced to help a kid find apples or some shit for nothing. I used to like the story, but now I just see it as an obstacle in the way to get more primos. And this could be eased if the developers are more willing to dole out currency once in a while like they do with their other games. But Genshin is such a cash cow, it's like if they show any sort of weakness, they'll lose 400% profit overnight. Right now, since it's the Lunar New Year or Chinese New Year, Genshin would regularly dole out some pretty hefty rewards, especially if you were a CN player. Western players, you know, you're ugly stepkids anyways, so you're gonna get what you're gonna get, but for the Chinese player base, when they learned how stripped down the rewards are, they went into open revolt. Also, the fucking government is looking at stepping in and banning certain daily activities in video games. This is squarely pointed at games like Genshin, who force players to log in every day to get the rewards. Another totally based move by the CCP's Ministry of Education. Orwell would be proud, as he too was upset at the treatment of weebs after World War II. Alright, enough about primos. Number 2, and this is, for me, one of my biggest issues with the game. Wallow text. Have you ever played an older JRPG and been like, God damn, that's a lot of text? Buddy, Genshin is the Webster's Dictionary of quest text. Simple quests or missions like, hey, I lost my friend in a cave, can you find him? Can last hours, because you have to sit there and go through lines upon lines upon lines of text. useless, stupid garbage that gets between you and playing the game. There's also no skip button. So even if you were fed up with every quest being 400 pages of garbage spewed at you by Tevat's least brain-injured heroes, you can't skip it. You can rapid click or leave it on autoplay, but the game will add breaks and stops to make sure you can't get through the quest faster than they want you to. They deliberately waste your time because quests are a way to get primos, and the devs actively hate giving you any, so if you're trying to earn some table scraps, you'll need to suffer first. When I first started, I honestly didn't mind too much. I liked the stories and characters, so I read through most quests. Around Inazuma, it got so bad and bloated, and the storyline quests were taking upwards of 4 to 6 hours each to complete. Yeah, so a quick disclaimer, the quests have gotten better since Inazuma, and I didn't mind Cloud Retainer / Shinyun's story quest. I just don't have any footage of the really brutal quests, so unfortunately this one kind of has to act as fodder. I still think my point is valid regardless, and Genshin storytelling is bloated, tell don't show, and I mean it's still a massive issue I have with the game. I just didn't care anymore. It broke me. Right when things got interesting, you could bet your ass you're about to get 3 characters talking to each other about nothing for 20 minutes to really crush any sort of interest that was building in the background. I was shocked playing Final Fantasy XIV how brisk and easy it is to go through the story that is similar text and dialogue restrictions as Genshin. God, even Final Fantasy VI, which has 0 spoken dialogue and just pixels running around, tells you such a cool and compelling story in a fraction of the time as Genshin's part 1 of 8 Archon quest. It's absolutely maddening. It would be my most hated part of the game if it wasn't for number 1. Alright, the number 1 thing I hate about Genshin. This game does not respect your time. I read a little thread on Reddit a few months ago about someone complaining about Diablo 4 and how it doesn't respect the player's time. Now listen here, guy. When you turn on Diablo 4 and hit something and level up and get gear, that is the bare minimum of respecting a player's time. Genshin Impact is a fucking humanitarian crisis by comparison. When I turn on Genshin, it's already wasting my time. I have to navigate to my commissions, teleport there, skip through 10 to 12 text boxes, kill or interact with something, and net a measly 10 Primo Gems. After 3 more commissions and a Welkins, which I pay $6 a month for, I get 150 Primos. A 10 pull in this game, which guarantees you at least 1 4-star weapon or character, is 1,600 Primo Gems, which also includes a chance at a 5-star with, hilariously low drop rates. There's also a pity system. I don't really want to get too much into it, but basically the more you pull, the higher you build this kind of background value, which can help increase the chance of you pulling on a 5-star later on, but then you can also potentially lose that 5-star to another 5-star because it's a 50-50. Yeah, it's a fucking nightmare. But yeah, back to the grind. Dude, Genshin's grind makes WoW 10 years ago look like a fucking picnic. It's honestly a crime that such a cool world with fun combat systems and mostly interesting characters are weighed down by the most predatory gacha system I've ever encountered. There's so many roadblocks in the way of you having fun. The systems are subtle but powerful enough to creep into your wallet and basically just rip your credit card numbers right out from underneath you. Flying sucks, stamina meters suck, artifact grinding sucks, the resin cap sucks, drop rates suck, leveling material sucks, talent material sucks, weapons suck, most 4-stars suck, power creep sucks, the Abyss sucks, oh my god, the Abyss. It's the endgame of Genshin and a glorified DPS check. If you aren't playing meta or not willing to spend some money, good fucking luck struggling through this nightmare for a measly 600 primos. That's 37% of a 10 pull. Are you fucking kidding me? The endgame raid grants you 600 primos. That's like winning the Super Bowl. They give you a Dunkin' Donuts gift card for $20. Hell, I'd take a donut over this punch the fucking Primo Gems. Most players can't even clear the last tier because it's just pay to win. It's usually net 450 anyways. Sad. So sad. I've played similar games and saw them for the crappy Skinner boxes they were, but Genshin so insidiously drags you into the Sarlacc pit with ruthless efficiency, it's almost impressive. I already said there's things I love about the game, and there's still a lot that a lot of people like about the game, regardless of how fucking evil it actually is. But it's depressing, because the majesty and wonder that you start out with starts to slowly rot away as you realize it's just a time-gating, malevolent fucking mess. This is a well-designed rat maze that gives you a pathetically low dose of good chemicals constructed by an evil algorithm, which, at the end of the day, is a casino.
until he dropped his winnings back and gave up $1 million of his own cash. In the casino, the cardinal rule is to keep them playing and keep them coming back. The longer they play, the more they lose. In the end, we get it all.
Anyways, that's Genshin Impact. Play it, don't play it. I've certainly had my fun with it. I've also felt passionate hate towards it. It's a popular, divisive game that is easy to get into for better or worse. And hey, $6 a month for an insane amount of, good and maybe not so good content beats half most full price games today anyways. So I would just say, if you're interested in Genshin, I would go as far as you're willing to take it without spending any money, because again, the early game is pretty generous with giving you free primos. But if you start to feel like, ugh, if I just crack my wallet open and, I can get this character or get a constellation or, then I would just set a limit for yourself, like any other gambling service. I would basically just say, hey, I'm willing to spend $60 in primo gems and do a couple pulls. And if I don't get them, I don't get them. That sucks. And, maybe I'll come back in a month or two. But I've seen some crazy shit, like Japanese people taking out a fucking shark loan to pull on characters, which is fucking crazy. That's like, taking out a second mortgage to get the anime waifu. That's not good. That's, that's actually, people are actually destroying their lives over this shit, so. Yeah, anyways, see ya.
My favorite pastime is reading other people's stories. My second favorite is watching other people squirm.